This is Rudy Rude Dog Reyes reporting from the starting gate out here in the beautiful city of Los Alamitos, California. Here we go, Steeler Nation. Big Tiz, Big O. Today we have a very uphill battle against the New York Jets. I honestly believe, from my take here at the starting gate, people are hoping and praying for a Steeler win. It's been a long season, a long time coming. Let's see if we can get this first one today in hostile territory out in New York. I have Luke Walker as a starting gate goer here and a diehard Steeler fan. Luke, what do you think about the upcoming season? How do you think it's going to turn out at the end of the day? And do we get the win today against the Jets?
I sure hope we get the win against the Jets. Uphill battle, I agree. Are we going to have a winning season? I hope so.
You're probably not the only one. I'd say thousands of other Steeler fans in California alone, if not more than that, are going to wish for a Steeler win today. Luke Walker is from Pittsburgh. He's a Pittsburgh native, so it's a pleasure to have him this morning talking to me about the Steeler season. Who do you think, Luke, is going to be the impact player of the game, and what do you think they're going to do?
Well, if Ben Roethlisberger doesn't step up and claim some of the errors, if he does step up, he's going to be the impact player. I hope he does step up, gets focused, analyzes where his errors are, and moves on, and doesn't let him drag him down.
Do you have anybody for the defense as far as who the outstanding player is going to be in that part of the Steeler game?
The whole defensive line needs to step up. They need to get the turnovers. They need to not kick them around. They need to fall on them, hold them, instead of kick them and giving first downs away.
Right. No, I definitely agree with you. We definitely need to get some pressure on the quarterback. Geno Smith looked phenomenal the other night, and to be honest with you, he's someone to be contending with. So I think Dick LeBeau's going to have to design some really exotic defensive looks, and then maybe take a step back and put Troy into a strong safety position instead of rushing up the middle. So for all intent and purposes, we definitely need this win to go and have a winning record maybe this year. What do you think about that, Luke?
I would love to see us pull off a record, go 0-4 and come out 12-4. That's what I honestly would love to see.
Right, absolutely. I could agree with you more on that one. And again, I believe everybody is hoping for that as well. This could be a start of a win streak for the Steelers. So with that being said, this is a pre-game interview with Luke Walker from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's my friend on Facebook. If you don't have him at it, he's a great guy, a great Steeler resource, and an all-around great guy. It's a pleasure to have you today, Luke.
Thank you, Rudy. Have a great day. Go
Thank you.
Steelers.
Yeah, go Steelers. Let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz.
And we're all happy, folks, and we all know why. It was bound to happen, and
it did.
It did.
The Steelers finally came out, got a much-needed win, and they did everything they needed to do to win the game. This was the difference between that and the other games that happened. I don't know if you caught earlier before this segment that we had Rude Dog Reyes, come in, getting some feedback from some of the fans out there, and how, a lot of subdued feelings were out there about what the Steelers were doing this game.
Yeah, a couple pre-game interviews, and folks, we all know it sounds like what everybody's saying, the same things. And hopefully by now or in the near future that this will take effect and the Steelers will start acting like the way they used to in the past.
Exactly. And like we said, the Steeler fans now, I know everybody's on a high horse right now, but you know what? Let's take it one game at a time, and starting with the game against the Jets, a 19-6 win. Beautiful win for the Steelers. But you know what? We got a lot of other games coming up down the line, especially big games next up, coming in Baltimore, coming to Pittsburgh. So there are a lot of things that has to happen. Pittsburgh just came off a bye week, Big O.
Yeah, that was important. And what I was focusing on was this, believe it or not, this was the make it or break it game for the Steelers for the rest of the season. up to this point, we haven't, settled down, and we haven't, given up. We haven't said, we haven't played mediocre. From game one,
right.
We've been increasingly getting better. And this right now, coming off a bye, getting those injuries healed, this was the game we needed to win out of all the games. The first game is a great game to win of the season.
Exactly.
Second, you want to win. Folks, there's no way around it. You want to win every game. It's not going to happen. It's not the 72 Dolphins. However, this game I felt was the most crucial game, not rivalries against the Ravens or the Bengals or the Browns or whatnot. This game right here against the Jets was the one that was gonna set the standard for the rest of the season. We needed this win, and we got this win.
Well, sometimes it's just like anything else, like a shark in the water. You need that kind of taste of that blood to see that, we can win this. We can win a game. We're not as bad as everybody's out there pitching us to be, even our own fans. And that's why I said, black and gold for life. You got to support your team. You got to be there, be in it to win it. And the Steelers, like I said, they're trying to make that motivational move. And actually, if you look at some of the things that's been coming out in the news, I even heard Tomlin during the bye week, he started taking all the little things from players to let them know this is not a joke. If you want to be in it to win it, you got to be in it all the way. He started removing their games or iPods or just little things to let them know that, if you're here in this stadium, in our facility, you're here for business.
I'm glad you brought that up, Big Tiz. Do you think there was any kind of factor into this win that you take something away from them that they were going to produce? I mean, we're all adults here, but do you think that they had some kind of impact on the way the Steelers played against the Jets?
Well, I think it did in certain ways, only because these guys seen that this is a business. If you're not producing, like I said, he let it be seen that you'll be gone. And we even had guys that were starters that starting to lose their position. I mean, these are guys who were drafted as starters, and he's like, if you can't put out, you can't produce, you're on the bench, or your next step is out the door.
Right. The reason I bring that up is because the veteran players, when the Steelers started losing, they shut the new guys, the rookies, off from these same benefits.
Right.
And we're still losing. So maybe it was coming together.
Exactly.
Instead of, like every locker room has their own ways of dealing with things, and the rookies, they were set, they're put in their place, and the guys who've been around, the veterans, it's good at one point, but when you're falling 0-4 and you're falling and you're tumbling and you're spinning out of control, there's things you got to do to come together as a team. You got to put that rookie stuff and the veteran stuff aside.
Right.
And I believe that helped. Let the rookies say, hey, the older guys, the veterans, want us to come together. And it sounds silly, no ping pong, no Wii, no pool or card games. It might sound silly to people, but when you're into sports, and we all know we have superstitions, everybody has superstitions.
Right.
I believe that this did help them. Mm-hmm. I do believe it did, Big Tiz. And coming into this game against the Jets, it's not like it was in the past. Now, we've had a rivalry with the Jets since 1970. Granted, we've taken control with a 16-4 series lead, but now the tables have been reversed. Now it's Pittsburgh coming in trying to get a victory out of the Jets, as opposed to the Jets trying to get a victory from the Steelers.
Right, and like I said, this was a big game for the Steelers, as you alluded to earlier. It was a must-win for the Steelers, and they went out and they did it. Granted, the Steelers do have some work that they have to do, but this rivalry between the Jets is a big one, and the Steelers came out on top this week, which is a very good game and a very big win for them.
Right, the last season the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Jets was at home last September with a 27-10 victory. Mm-hmm. Now we hold, a 7-1 home victory against the Jets, and on the road it's 9-3. So we pretty much can handle these Jets, but going into this game, it wasn't that kind of atmosphere. It was a must win, instead of saying, we will win this game, we must win this game.
Right, and it was an important game for the Jets as well, because the Jets are trying to keep pace with New England, who squeaked out a win Sunday versus New Orleans Saints, which kind of pissed me off. But anyway, games like that, and they're trying to keep pace as well. So, and the Jets' defense is no slouch by any means, any exaggeration. Actually, I think their defense is better than some of the defenses that Pittsburgh has played against.
Oh, absolutely. But the thing about that is, when you throw a variety of attacks at an offense, you have to forget, or you can't forget, the counterattacks. And I think that's what helped Ben in the offense with all the defensive schemes they were throwing at him. The thing about that is what Dick LeBeau does, he has just as many defensive schemes as the Jets, if not more. But what he does is he goes through the list, and what works, he sticks with it. Unlike the Jets, what they were doing, they were just kept on rotating different, and at the some point during the game, we're going to pick this up, and Ben did a good job of that, realizing that the run game isn't there, or wasn't there for that game, that we can utilize their certain defenses to certain pass plays, and Ben took advantage of that.
Well, let me ask you, Big O, what do you think? Do you think it was a little bit of Ryan Clark making sentiments in the locker room saying, that he thought Big Ben has to learn to be more careful with the ball, and that's kind of hard for Ben to, I guess, basically to hear coming from another veteran player. But if you look at game film, and maybe if Ben realizes it, which he didn't blow it out of proportion himself, but he has to take control of that ball. He has to watch where he's throwing that ball. He has to not throw that ball in double coverage, or when he sees a sack coming, sometimes, you know what? I hate to say it, sometimes it's okay to eat a ball, and if you can't eat the ball, get rid of it.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes what you have to do is you have to put your pride aside. And I think that's what it's coming around to. Some of these veterans, like Clark, he's not Mr. Perfect. He gets burned a couple of times. And I'm sure there's talk to him that we don't hear about. But there's a lot of talk that we're hearing about Big Ben because he's the main focus.
Right.
He's the main guy running the offense. So, of course, this is going to get out. And you know what? I applaud Ben for taking it for what it was worth and not, taking this constructive criticism, you might say, and working with it as opposed to saying, I'm Ben Roethlisberger, I got 2 Super Bowl rings, you're a veteran, you should know that this is in-house stuff. But, something like this has to get leaked out so you can address it and go from there and not just bury your head in the sand. And it shows the maturity level of the Pittsburgh Steelers working with the defense, not pointing fingers at Ben and Ben not pointing fingers at the defense. We have to stop them or whatnot. But it just, you could see the maturity level increasing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is all accumulating because of that one victory. That's what I said. This is the make it or break it game, because you have to take from this game what you did positive and you grow on it, and what you did negative, and just push it aside and learn from it.
Exactly. You know what? Well, let's get into our topic one of the topics of the show is what went wrong. We'll start off with what went wrong first, so we can ease into some of the things that went right for the Steelers, and they did have some good things this week. So.
Oh, absolutely.
So, Big O, what were some of the things that you've seen that went wrong in this game against the Jets?
Well, we all know the season hasn't been a productive offensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but when you start dropping touchdown passes, we get back to the Lima Swede and those kind of guys. When you're at this point in the season, you're 0-4. Any chance you get to score a touchdown,
exactly,
not miss field goals, you have to take advantage of these. And we dropped a touchdown, which could have killed us, but it didn't.
Luckily,
we dropped a couple interceptions that we thought, here we go again, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go another game without a takeaway. And that's huge too.
Right.
And no running game once again. And, we had what? We had 3 of our starting running backs couldn't combine for 100 yards total for 3 of them.
Right. And that's a hard thing to accept too. You got these guys out here, and we're going through our issues with our line still being shuffled around here and there, and you actually had Beecham. I got called a couple times for false starts or even offensive holding and different things like that. But the key thing is right there, which I can kind of get along with at the moment, is because they're going through a process of going from this position to that position. So with him starting off at this position and getting those holding penalties, that at least means he's trying to get himself in front of the guy, and he's not letting Ben actually get killed out there. So I'm looking at it from different aspects, but you know what? A holding penalty is a holding penalty, but I believe that he will eventually learn. I believe he'll get better as time goes on.
Right, and also getting back to the offense, the inefficiency in the red zone, that is huge. We have all these weapons at Ben's disposal, but we're not utilizing them. Running game, 2.6 yards per carry, that's not going to get you anywhere. And once your running game fails, that makes you one-dimensional.
Exactly.
So now the defense, with all these schemes, is going to come at you, and they're going to make Ben beat you in the air. And like like I said earlier, that the more defenses that you show, the more Ben can take looks at, instead of just picking that one defense or the two defenses that are working and stick with it. And I think that was a downfall to the Jets. Also, what happened to our special teams, Big Tiz?
I don't know. They didn't give up a touchdown.
True.
But,
True.
you know, they did give up some yards. But I can say one thing. Your top guy, the punter, he's still doing his thing.
Yep. Zoltan Mesko and Sean Swisham. He's 100%.
Yeah, I've actually heard Mesko's name a lot on the TV last night, on the TV during the game, and I was very, very impressed. So, you know what? He wants that jersey, so fans get it for him.
That's right. Let me know what's on the way. I'll give you my address. You can send it to me. That'd be fantastic. But you know, the special teams, we don't have that one true threat to return punts and to return kickoffs like we had Reggie Dunn.
Yeah, that was one that kind of burned me, because we actually had a guy that was a renowned punt returner coming out of college, and we let him go. Now, I was hoping down the line that if he didn't get picked up, that we would possibly get him. And I'm not sure if he got picked up or not. So hopefully we can get him, because we do need something, a spark to help us create points.
We have to get him back to Pittsburgh before somebody else realizes what this young man is capable of.
Exactly.
And put him back in some black and gold, and let's get him out there and help with this faltering special teams. Without Swisham and without Zoltan Mesko, you would think this is probably the worst special teams out there.
Yep.
And you alluded to this earlier about the penalties. Mm-hmm. Not huge, game-changing penalties, but consistently doing the same thing wrong over. The holding, the false starts. That breaks up the momentum.
Right.
I mean, not necessarily calling back touchdowns, but when you have that momentum going and all of a sudden you got the false start, then you take one step forward, two steps back, then you got the holding. When you got Bell doing an 8-yard run, but we got to bring it back 10 yards. So that's a loss of 18 yards right there. We got to stop doing that. But folks, you know what? We don't want to be. There's a few things that did go right other than the victory.
Right.
Yes, Sunday.
Well, finally, number one, Steelers got to win. And also, the Steelers finally came up and started putting pressure on the quarterback and got 2 big takeaways during the game, along with 3 sacks.
Now, Geno Smith is no slouch coming into this game. He was leading just 3-2, possibly a tie in their division, and he wasn't looking back. This young kid has got a future with the NFL. And like we said, and Dick LeBeau said, you got to put a lot of pressure on these rookies. Dick LeBeau is 16-2 against rookie quarterbacks in his career, and it showed. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to get together a defense that works. Like I said, alluded to earlier, that Dick LeBeau uses a whole bunch of schemes, whole bunch of different, and then when one works, he sticks with it. And then when that doesn't, you switch channels and you go to something else that can work. And his defensive schemes worked against Geno Smith. Young quarterback, smart kid, but not as smart as Dick LeBeau.
Right. And that's one thing I was very, very impressed with, especially Dick LeBeau had timed blitzes at the perfect time. And that's one thing Pittsburgh were lacking. We were doing blitzes, but the guys that we had pushing up the middle weren't getting enough pressure. Now with them juggling during the bye week, putting different players in positions, it seems like the pressure was there coming up the middle. And if you get that pressure coming up the middle, that disrupts everything.
Oh yeah, when you have the cross tackle blitzes, and then when you have your end falling back into coverage like Timmons did, quarterback doesn't know, can't see him. There you go, you have an interception. And I don't know if we touched base on that, but we had 2 takeaways. Mm-hmm. 2 takeaways, 2 interceptions. Could have had more, but this is a start.
Right.
So now we are not the only team in the NFL without a takeaway.
Like I said, that was huge this weekend. Actually, time of possession was 35 minutes, 49 seconds, which was huge for the Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, they did it with doing that dink and dunk type offense, except for the one big play that Ben did down the field when he hit Sanders for the 55-yard touchdown, which was beautiful pass.
Beautiful.
Yep. And the other thing I like to see is that the Steelers, Todd Haley is starting to pull some little tricks and stuff out of the bag. See, once things start to get a little better and starts to open up, he starts pulling tricks out of the bags where you see Antonio Brown doing on reverse
Yeah.
passes.
Yeah.
That
One for one for 15 yards, not bad.
Yeah, when the defenses start to see that, they don't know what to do. They don't know whether to go attack this guy or whether they should go back in coverage. They're all discombobulated.
That's right. We need to throw some more trick plays in. But the reason why we haven't seen those trick plays is because we have to get the basics down first. And 0-14 shows me that you don't even have the basics down.
Right.
So now that starting to get in that comfort zone, now we're realizing we can win football games and that we can try new things. Expect this to be in the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers. More creative plays on offense, just not on defense, folks.
Exactly. Well, they held the Jets. They held the Jets offense to only 2 field goals and no touchdowns.
Right, and like we said earlier, those 2 interceptions were huge. Not only because they put us back on the map as a good defense, but they were both in the red zone.
Exactly.
And we all know with an 0-4 start, when the team gets in the red zone, that it's usually 7 points.
Yeah.
Because we win games if we keep on giving up, touchdowns in the red zone.
Well, and that's one thing. The Steelers are starting to get that. It seems like they're trying to get that swagger back a little bit. Like I said, they're adding that pressure. They got the defensive back swarming all over the place, so it's getting there. I love Shamarko Thomas. This guy's a phenomenal talent coming in this year, rookie. And like I said, he's got a lot to learn. So we got a lot of young guys added into that secondary. And they get, like I said before in the previous show, they're getting coaching from LeBeau and they're getting coaching from Palomalo and Clark out there in the secondary. So these young guys are learning.
Imagine that. You're just coming in to the NFL, not only on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but your mentor and your coaches are Dick LeBeau, Troy Polamalu, and Ryan Clark.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being the student in that classroom? This kid is going to be a Hall of Famer. I can guarantee it. He's got 3 Hall of Famers coaching him right now.
Right.
So just imagine what he can do.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So we did a lot of things right, and it shows from the score. We didn't light up the scoreboard with touchdowns, but we won the game.
Exactly.
We won the game.
And that's huge, and that's what the Steelers needed. They need to get that one win under their belt. So you know what? They can start to address some other things they need to try to work on to get us into a consistent winning pattern. So that was huge for the Steelers this week against the Jets. Actually, you know what, guys? We're going to go to our first commercial of the day for the Steeler Nation Live, and when we come back, we're going to give you some game stats updates. And actually, we're going to go to a commercial with Rudy Rude Dog Reyes out there in California doing his thing. And actually, Rudy's going to stop at one of the places out there and give some much needed update from the fans and give you guys out there what's the feeling going on the West Coast. Next up on Steeler Nation Live.
We head from our Rochester, New York studios of Steeler Nation Live out west to California, checking out our new addition to the show, Rudy Rude Dog Reyes. Man, this guy's live. We gotta meet him here on Steeler Nation Live. Rudy, how are things going with you today on Steeler Nation Live?
Good afternoon, Big Tiz, Big O. This is Rudy Rude Dog Reyes reporting live from the starting gate here in Los Alamitos, California. Big win. Definitely a statement. We have this. It's good. We got it going. We got to get it rolling and keep it going. So with that being said, I got one word, and that's Pittsburgh, baby. And we got this on the West Coast. I have a wonderful young lady here who is a fellow Steeler fan. And I just had some questions for her in regards to what her thoughts are about this game, how it went, and where she sees us going from here.
Hi everybody, I'm Charlie, #1 fan right here.
Where do you see us going right now in regards to the Steelers season, and where do you expect us to be by the middle of the season?
Honestly, I've only rooted for 5 games. We've got 1 down, we got 4 more to go, but if we can keep going, we can be contenders, you never know.
That's actually awesome, and I can definitely appreciate all of the enthusiasm, not only from Shelly, but everybody else here inside of the starting gate.
The way I see it, the Steelers are not a rebuild. You don't rebuild. The Steelers reload. But the upper management that refuses to spend any money, and because of that, all our good players are gone. Our offensive line sucks. Ben Roethlisberger's getting paid millions of dollars to get hit. Come on, man. I mean, we win. That's okay. We win against the Jets. That's an obvious win. We should have won big, even better than that. But how many times did he get sacked in this game? You know, it has nothing to do with the players. It has nothing to do with the coaching. No disrespect to any of the players. You know, I understand they made the cut, they made the team. But here's the thing: you cannot win in the NFL with average Joe.
Right.
You gotta spend money.
Help. So with that being said, we just got to keep going. Both sides of the ball look fantastic. Felix Jones gave up some. Dwyer gave in a little bit. Le'Veon was good with the semi-twisted ankle at the end of one of those dynamic plays that he had. On top of that, our defense stepped up. Timmons with an interception 3 yards from the end zone. He couldn't have been in a better position. So with that being said, Steeler Nation, we have this going. Finally one on the board. And from the starting gate out here in Los Alamitos, California, this is Rudy Rude Dog Reyes. And I'm going to say it again. This is my second word. And we got this. And here we go. Rude Dog out.
Four of a kind consignment and resale, Jeromesville, Ohio. Everyone knows everybody. Everyone calls your friend. You don't need an invitation. Just kick off your shoes and come on in. At Four of a Kind Consignment and Resale, they have antiques, vintage items, electric items, clothing, and housewares. Four of a Kind Consignment and Resale is a 4-generation family-owned establishment that also has Muffler & More, Spade Web Design and Publishing, and Spade Enterprises, a business that loves and cares about the community. Even though they are in Ohio, Four of a Kind Consignment and Resale has a ton of Steeler items for sale now and even more during the season. They're closed on Mondays, but they're open Tuesdays through Sundays. Call Heidi. Her phone number is 567-203-7858. That's Heidi at 567-203-7858. Or look for her on the web at spadeinc.com/4oak.html. They ship everywhere.
Hey guys, welcome back to Steeler Nation Live. Big Tiz.
Big O.
Hey guys, you know what? We want to also thank Rudy again. You know what? Giving that fan feedback. The fans are out there, you know, they're excited about this win, but there's still some that are very weary of the win. But you know what? We got it, so we got to live with it for right now, Big O.
That's right. Just because we win a game, you're not gonna knock away your actual feelings, and we appreciate that. We don't want any fair-weathered friends. We don't want people to suddenly think, like Buffalo Bill fans, that we win one game, suddenly we're going to be in the Super Bowl and win it. Obviously, you know their track record with that. But we're not going to be that way. We're not going to bash. We're just, just tell like it is. And, it's not perfect, but it's a win, and that's a good place to start.
Exactly. You know what? We also wanted to pass along some very, very, things that make you scratch your head and say, you know what? And one of the main things is Adrian Peterson's 2-year-old son, the death of his 2-year-old son by the mother's boyfriend. Alleged boyfriend. And this was big news that came out in the NFL. And Adrian Peterson, besides that, decided to play, which was, to me, amazing, but he did.
We all see death. We all take death different. If it was me, I'm in the hospital with my son. If I know might be the last moments that he might possibly see me or hear my voice, I'm going to be there. Folks, that's me. What he does and how Adrian Peterson handles death, I'm not going to judge him, even though I would like to. But because of the way I feel, that wouldn't be me. I don't care what game. If it was a Super Bowl.
Right, exactly.
If it was a Super Bowl, that's my son. Whether we were married or not, the child by marriage, that's my son, that's my daughter. I'm going to be there. Exactly. I'm going to let my child know that daddy is there.
I agree with you totally.
It's very tough for me to talk about this, but I don't want to say anything bad or negative towards Adrian Peterson because, like I said, everybody handles death in their own way. That's not my way, so I'm not going to judge a Big Tiz.
Yeah, it's like I said, he came out, he played the game. I believe he has 60, 70 yards in that game, and hey, I mean, I guess everybody has their choices and things they want to do. But you know what? We did want to repay respect to his son, and to him and to the Peterson family. That's a very, very tragic loss, and much due respect to you guys
and the Vikings organization.
Exactly.
Our hearts go out to you, and our prayers go out to your family and your organization.
But one of the other things that we did want to touch base on was the fact of, I don't know if any of you guys caught the game, the Houston Texans, I'm trying to remember who they were playing, but actually St.
Louis Rams came to town. Yeehaw! Came to Texas.
Yep, and actually came out of there with a huge win, thoroughly spanking the Houston Texans. And actually, Matt Schwab, the quarterback for the Houston Texans, got hurt in that game. And it was something to see because, as Big O alluded to, during the break we discussed this, was the fact of how the fans got up and started cheering and doing the wave.
They did the wave when Matt Schaub went down. The fans cheered, did the wave. Now we all know, with an 0-4 record, that our quarterback really isn't doing his best, or the running backs, the offensive line, the defense. It's a team effort. It's not just one player who loses a game. But for fans to cheer that your player is hurt and leaving the game, that's ridiculous. That's inconceivable. Right. I can never, like we discussed during the break, any Pittsburgh Steelers fan ever cheering for one of our players hurt. I could never imagine it. In doing the wave, let me tell you something, folks. If I know it never will, that's why I'm going to say this right now. But if I ever saw that from the Steeler fans, which I know will never happen, I will throw my Steeler stuff away. I will never be a Steeler fan again. But that's not going to happen. The show will be destroyed. But that's never going to happen, Tiz. I cannot see any Pittsburgh Steeler fan, as much as you're angry at a player, to cheer for their injury. And we've had many injuries, many injuries, and I have not seen somebody cheer because they were hurt.
Well, one of the things with Pittsburgh is basically, I don't know if you ever heard a lot of people say it's like a family type organization. These guys treat their players and they treat their staff and everybody almost like family. And you heard it from Ryan Clark during the offseason when he said the coach of the Steelers, the owner.
The owner, Rooney.
We're trying to let him stay at his house and different things like that. This is like a family organization, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the franchises in the NFL that treats their players just like family. So, you know what? Let's hope, and I hope you guys will never disrespect any person, the organization, like that. So that was disgusting to see that on TV, national TV, on top of that.
Or any fans, opposing fans. I've been in Heinz Field for many games, and in fact, one year, I believe it was a game that Ben got hurt last year, a Thursday night game, that there were a bunch of Cleveland Brown fans around me, and I saw nothing but respect. You're going to have your banter here and there, but nothing at the point where people were swearing or throwing stuff at each other. That's what you want. If you're going to have a rivalry, you want it to be a good rivalry.
Exactly.
So that way you could wake up the next morning and say, you know what? I feel good because we won the game and there were the opposing fans there and no violence or anything happened. You want to win the game, folks. We all understand it. I want to win every game. Big Tiz wants the Steelers to win every game. The Steelers want to win every game. But when somebody gets hurt,
it's a big difference.
You can't do that.
Exactly.
I mean, that's ridiculous. And that's another reason that sets us aside from all the other teams in the NFL is how we treat our players and how we treat our fans.
Exactly. And you know what, guys? We said our piece on that, but let's go to the Steeler game stats. What are some of the things that the Steelers had a 19-6 win in a game versus the Jets. Total yardage for the Steelers of 328 yards. And you know what? The penalties, 7 for 49, which means they're getting penalties, but they're not as huge as they were, especially in preseason. The penalties were ridiculous.
Right. Also, Ben didn't give the ball away.
Neither did the running backs.
The running backs didn't. So no turnovers. That's an absolute plus for the Steelers. And once we work on the penalties, like I said, this is the game that we needed. That was our foundation. Those 4 games that we lost, that's in the past. Now we're looking for the future. We're taking this one win, and we're looking in the future.
Exactly.
And that, like I said earlier, that was our make or break it game. We can either learn from it or run from it, and it looks like we're learning from it, Big Tiz.
Yeah, huge, very huge for the Steelers to do that. Actually, time of possession for the Steelers, we said it earlier, 35 minutes, 49 seconds. huge for the Steelers. They're starting to get back into that grinded out ball control type. But, we're still working on our offensive line issues. So I think eventually with these guys trying to settle into their position, things are starting to pick up.
They are. And it doesn't help when we have the merry-go-round with the tackles and the guards. We set up this year that you're supposed to have 7 offensive linemen on the roster.
Right.
And with the addition of Levy Brown, that helped. But we'll talk about Levy Brown in a few moments. Not good news for Levy. It's just when you're playing the musical chairs and the merry-go-round, it's really kind of hard not to make excuses or why the offensive line is doing bad. It doesn't help. These are all professionals. They've practiced the same, been through the same training camp. They've read the same playbook. You're on the team for a reason. One guy goes down, you're supposed to step up and do his job.
Right.
If not better. So there's no excuses, but I would look at it as a reason. Not an excuse, but a reason why the offensive line is not doing that good. And we'll talk about Levy Brown in a little bit. But we eliminate the turnovers.
Right.
We eliminate the penalties. We start scoring in the red zone.
Yep.
And we win games.
Exactly. And that's what's going on there. And it's like I said, things are starting to pick up. And Roethlisberger, decent day, 23 of 30, 264 yards, 1 touchdown. And Antonio Brown, 1 of 1 passing for 15 yards.
Not bad. You have a future.
Exactly.
We already have enough quarterbacks, so...
Well, and let's get to the ground control part of the game, which is Bell. Bell was 16 carries for 34 yards, no touchdowns, no turnovers, which is exactly what we needed. If you can contribute in a positive way instead of negative.
Also, he caught a couple balls out of the backfield for good runs. He gave me 5 points in fantasy. I could have used more, even though I destroyed you. But
you did play me this weekend, unbelievably.
That's right. But 5 points in a normal situation isn't doing much. But like his 2 touchdown performance against the Vikings. But you want to see the end zone. You want to get in there, but we're working on it.
Right.
Slowly. Hopefully we'll speed this up because half of the season is over.
Yeah.
So it's time to, folks, I said 4 losses, 12 wins. All right, we got the 4 losses out of the way. 1 win right now.
Oh,
and
man.
it's not going to be...
I know, fans.
It's going to be an uphill climb, but this is the way to do it with a victory.
Exactly.
So, Geno and the Jets. Not bad, not a bad performance, not a good performance, but he's a rookie quarterback playing against that stout Steelers defense.
Yeah.
He didn't do he did bad.
19 for 34, 201 yards, but the 2 costly interceptions
in the red zone, which usually is what we're looking at on our side of the table. But like I said earlier, like I alluded to earlier, Dick LeBeau changing up the defenses to what will work, and a rookie quarterback, just throw the kitchen sink at him. Force him to make mistakes.
Exactly.
And that's what he did. He made 2 costly mistakes. Stuffed the running game.
Yeah. Powell, 9 carries for 30 yards, and that was a good stop by the Steelers. And they did a lot of things to shut down the run, which was great. Like I said, and that added pressure coming up to cause disruption in the pass patterns and things like that. That equates to where, other teams start to say, then we have to start to run the ball a little more to see if we can get some of that heat off. And that's what I mean about that pressure coming up the middle.
Right. It doesn't help that their top tight end, Kellen Winslow, was suspended 4 games for drug abuse.
Right.
Or breaking the... whatever.
Well, it wasn't drug. Basically it was enhancement drugs. During his workouts or whatever.
But still,
right,
whatever.
And they're also missing San Antonio Holmes. He was out for that game as well. But I don't know. Well, that had helped a lot. Maybe a little. I don't know. But I think we were on that day. I think the Steelers were ready for the task.
And they lost upcoming wide receiver Stephen Hill for a while after that nice pop by Troy Polamalu.
Exactly.
Completely legal.
Yep.
Completely legal. I don't know what's legal now anymore. Anyways.
Yeah.
But there was no flags. But we all know, folks. We'll see. He'll see a fine later on the week, maybe $20,000. That looks like a $25,000 fine. But we don't hear about this stuff until days later. So, you know what? Right here, you heard from Big O. I would at least not like to see, but we're going to see a $25,000 fine to Troy Polamalu for that hit. Guaranteed. This is Big O.
I hope not.
I hope not either.
There actually was a huge
the way things are going.
There actually was a huge one levied on Detroit Lions Sue or Sir, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah, he's got that. He's got that.
I think he had like
target on his
yeah,
back.
I believe
like
he had a heavy one, maybe $100,000.
You know the little stuff that you would typically get away with, not anymore, pal.
Exactly.
Nope.
Well, you know, that goes along with that type of play.
That's right, Big Tiz. And what about where are they now? Let's talk about Mendenhall, Wallace, and Harrison.
Well, before we go to where are they now, let's also give them an injury update coming from out of that game, which was one of the injury updates that was kind of weird because we picked up Levi Brown.
Yeah. And
I believe we got him from I'm not sure if it was the St. Louis Rams or Arizona Cardinals. I'll find out more, but
I believe it was the Cardinals. We got him for some money, some cash considerations, and a future draft pick. But unfortunately, Big Tiz, as you know, the injury bug doesn't care. Tore bicep before the game, so Mr. Brown will be out for the rest of the season. So
yeah. Oh, that was a quick expenditure, wasn't it?
There you go. Might as well just wadded it up the money and just threw it in the parking lot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And we needed somebody at that position, so anyway, he's done. But we also had Marcus Wheaton. He'll be out. I'm not sure if he's going to be back for the next game or not, but he had a broken finger. So hopefully he'll be able to return for that one. So it'll probably be a couple games out. But this guy, I would love to see him back on the field because I consider him, I think he's a game breaker. I give him the same respect in that avenue as Antonio Brown.
Right.
Yeah. So
give him time. He's a rookie. Give him time. So speaking about time, old man time. What about? Well, we all know Mike Wallace didn't contribute because he had a bye.
Right. Yep. And that's when we get to that next segment. Where are they now? And this is it. Mendenhall. He played against the San Francisco 49ers over the weekend. And he had 10 carries for 40 yards, no touchdowns. And I can say with this guy, and we've been doing this for a little while now, just checking on these guys as they've been in different places. And I don't know. I can't see that bad of a loss with him being released by the Steelers.
No, I can't. I can't at all. Because pretty much they're all the same.
Right.
Just that, we'll throw a jersey on you and contribute as much as you can, I guess.
Exactly. Wallace and the Miami Dolphins, they were off this week. So, they had a bye this week. And we also had Jerome Harrison. James Harris, excuse me, not Jerome. James Harrison, excuse me about that. James Harrison had a pretty decent day as the Cincinnati Bengals traveled down to Buffalo, where we are. And actually had a decent day.
Five tackles and 2 sacks.
Right.
Not bad.
And out of the 5 tackles, 2 of them went for losses. So that was huge. And I mean, I seen him out there in a couple plays, and actually I seen the couple tackles he had for a loss, and he seemed like he was on top of his game for that one. And like I said, he's also in a different position, trying to learn how to play from a different position, not from the outside like we used to come for the Steelers. So, will it be a huge miss for the Steelers?
I don't think so.
Maybe, but we're having some guys that are starting to step up.
I think the real miss that we'll have would be his locker room mentorship, to take these young guys and show them the ropes and teach them. He doesn't have the big size, but he's got the heart, he's got the speed. And so that's pretty much what you need if you want to get in that backfield. You want to get tackles for losses or sacks or splash plays or disrupt play in the backfield. This is the kind of player that you would want. A younger Harrison.
Right.
Not right now.
Exactly.
But, he did pretty good against the Bills, and we will see the Bills down the road in November 10th, 1 o'clock game in Heinz Field. So I'm looking forward to that.
We better be ready. One thing I want to say is we're going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back from the commercial, we're going to talk about the next game up for the Steelers, which is going to be a huge one in Heinz Field with the Ravens coming to Pittsburgh. Next up on Steeler Nation Live.
Heckle & Jekyll Sports Cards, Collectibles, and Video Games. Open 7 days a week here in Rochester, New York. Mike has all kinds of individual cards and packs. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, just to name a few. Mike also has the widest variety of video games too, from Sega Genesis to Wii to PlayStation to Nintendo, Game Boy Color Advance, and so on. Mike has all the old school games you can't rent or buy anymore. Mike also has a great selection of autographed memorabilia, sports jerseys, hats, 8x10s signed by your professional athletes for you to buy. He also has video game, Yu-Gi-Oh! And poker tournaments, Beanie Babies, Bratz dolls, sports figures, and more. Mike runs the show 7 days a week. Call Mike, 585-889-9130. That's 585-889-9130. Folks, if you're not in Rochester and you're looking for that hard-to-buy memorabilia, call Mike or look him up on the web at heckjack@rochester.rr.com. Once again, folks, that's heckjack@rochester.rr.com. But if you are in Rochester, you can go down to Chile Avenue, that's 3240 in the Chile Paul Village. Uniform Express, located on 1408 Buffalo Road, Rochester, New York, for your police, fire, or EMS supplies. One of Rochester's top and finest suppliers of shirts, pants, shoes, boots, and accessories for your professional uniform needs. Uniform Express also does embroidery and screen print for team uniforms, jerseys, and corporations. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also go to their website at www.uniformexpress.com or call Brian at 585-529-4245. That's 585-529-4245. And let Brian know you heard his ad on our show, Steeler Nation Live. Big O for Steeler Nation Live, future weather forecast for this Sunday's game, October 20th against the Baltimore Ravens, who come to town, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Heinz Field, 1 Rooney Boulevard. Folks, it's going to be cold. The high temperature is only going to be 52 degrees with a low 41. Good thing it's a 1 o'clock game, because guess what's going to happen later on that day? If it rains, possibly some snowflakes flowing around, but that's not going to bother us. That's Steeler football. So the high temperature is going to be 52 degrees with the low 41 with a 30% chance of rain. Bring your gear, stay warm, but you know what? Steeler victory's coming up. This is Big O, Steeler Nation Live, future weather forecast. Welcome back, everyone, to Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz.
And before we broke, we were talked about a few things. Now we're going to talk about the Ravens preview.
Okay. And that's a good thing to get on, because, like I said, the Ravens are going to be coming into Pittsburgh, and the Ravens are just coming off a loss against Green Bay, which they played a good game against Green Bay. So the Steelers are really going to have to be on their key, because they're going to come into Pittsburgh pissed off and mad.
Right. And their passing game really didn't exist until the fourth quarter when they tried to manage that comeback. Only lost by 2 points, but they scored 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter. You can't do that, folks, and you can't give those points away and expect to win. However, Green Bay did win that game, 19-17. But the thing about it is that the Packers stuffed the run.
Exactly. And that's one of the things. If you can force them into where they have to throw the ball all the time, and Pittsburgh generally does a good job against the Ravens, and there's out of the series, there's been a couple good games where maybe he had, and that was at Baltimore, not really at Pittsburgh as much. So we have to be on our P's and Q's with that, and that starts, like I said, with those guys pushing that front up the middle on the defensive line. They have to disrupt the quarterback. So
right, and it's going to be a 4:30 game coming up to Sunday, October 20th, where the Ravens come to Heinz Field. The weather, not that great, Big Tiz. If you watched earlier, the weather report, 52 degrees is going to be the high for the day.
Right.
So around that time of day, when the sun starts setting, it starts getting a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
And there's a 30% chance of rain.
Right.
So we all know cool temperatures, precipitation, that area leads to snowflakes.
Right.
So it's ooh.
And let's hope it doesn't get too bad earlier, because if it gets into a ground type game, I don't know how we're going to fare because, it's not like back in the day, the old Steelers where we control the game with the run. Right now, we're having our issues still.
But we're still controlling the clock, though.
Right. So we have to keep that short yardage offense going. So, and the Ravens right now, they're 3-3. And like you said, they lost a close one, 19-17 against Green Bay. But the Ravens, to me, their defense, it lost a couple pieces or lost a great deal of pieces last year, but they still have one of the better defenses out there.
Oh, absolutely. They had no problem with stopping the running game of the Packers. That was somewhat non-existent. And by looking at the score, you can see that Rodgers didn't have a Rodger-esque day.
Right.
I think he only got me 18 fantasy points. I mean, 19 points is not a huge day for a quarterback like
of his caliber.
Absolutely. So, Big Tiz, what are your keys to victory coming Sunday?
Well, number one, you gotta make the Ravens into a one-dimensional team, and that starts with stopping the run. If we can control Ray Rice, keep him his average carries of anywhere from 2 to maybe 5 yards, I hate to say, but if we can keep it within that, and anytime he catches a swing out pass, control it. Just keep it controlled within that area. I think the Steelers are going to do well because then that means that they're going to be bringing that pressure and heavy fronts, and they have to make Flacco erratic. And Flacco can get erratic by a couple hits. Whenever he releases that ball, make him feel it. And that's the thing. If the Steelers can do that and force them into a couple late turnovers, I think the Steelers can win this game. It's a huge game. And if they win it, I think the Steelers are on a good pace to possibly, if not come out of this hole, get to a point to where they're maybe possibly going down the line, 2-4, 3-4, 4-4.
Well, if the Steelers win 2-4, Ravens will be 3-4.
Right.
So we're scratching, we're clawing, we're getting back up there. But we have to win this game first. Jets, done. Ravens, we're going to do.
Right.
And not to mention the running back situation for the Ravens. We contain them and stop them. We have to factor in their wide receivers, 6'3", 6'4", and we're looking at Troy Polamalu and Ryan Clark. If they stand on each other's shoulders, we might have a chance. So I'm seeing a lot of bump and run at the line of scrimmage. Get them off their routes. Mess them up in the mind.
Right.
So that way they don't have those wide open receivers. Hurtel, just throw the ball up. And we all remember the playoffs last year. That's all Flacco did, was just throw the ball up. And with these tall receivers, they just pull the ball in. We can't give him time to get set and throw the ball.
Actually, and you did allude to something earlier, too, is the fact that the Steelers, our special teams has to come up huge in this game. We had some little areas last week against the Jets that didn't fare as well, but this has to be huge because the Ravens, that's one thing they relied on a lot last year that took them out of a lot of, close games was that special teams. They did it from the Super Bowl, and, this guy, their returner, he's a decent return man, so we have to be careful of that. And Mexico, he has to do phenomenal punting this game. I mean, if he's got to do angle punts to get the ball out of bounds, then that's what he has to do. But we have to be very wary of the special teams.
Right. We also talked earlier about time possession, keeping our offense on, keeping our offense off. But field position is huge, and that's hurt us in the past against the Ravens, especially starting average from our offense starting at the 11-yard line.
Right.
And then now we have a really good punter, more than halfway decent punter, to get us out of those predicaments. But you know what, folks? That adds up. And not only to mention that we need to get out of bad field position, we have to put the Ravens in bad field position.
Exactly.
And with the punter we have right now, we can do that. We don't talk about that a lot on the show as far as field position. We talk about time of possession, but we rarely talk about field position. And that's one of the factors that kill us. Because our third down conversions are horrible. We can't fall into those third and longs. Okay?
Exactly.
And we have to stop. We have to have our return men either not catch the ball at the 10-yard line, let the ball go, or when you do catch the ball, do something with it. And that's going to hurt us.
Right.
So one of the key factors that I believe is going to be field position. In special teams, that's going to win the game for us. Establish run, obviously, all the obvious things. Establish the run, don't become one-dimensional,
right?
And create some turnovers, not give the ball up. Because you can look at the recipe for a win, and we baked a great cake. We got the ball, We took the ball away from them. We didn't give them the ball. However, we did, have a couple of miscues with the penalties and, miss this and miss that. But the key to success, we have to put all that stuff together.
Exactly.
No style points, but a win is a win.
I mean, we're on a road to try to do that, but like I said, like any cake that's in the oven, it's going to take a little while to bake and get to what you want. So let's hope that the Steelers can actually eventually do that and do it in a timely manner than what we need. The Steelers' schedule looks a lot like, it's going to be rough patches in there. And I'm going to let Big O just to run down some of the scheduling that the Steelers have coming up, including this Ravens game.
Okay, starting in season 0-4, we're 1-4 now. Any game that we play is crucial. Doesn't matter who's coming to town or where we're going.
Right.
Now, we have the Ravens next Sunday, and then after that begins the road trip.
Exactly.
We go across to Rudy's territory. We go to L.A., and we play the Raiders in L.A. Then, when we leave L.A., we go straight to New England. So it's not getting any better, folks. Out of the pan, into the fire. So we can't, look at these teams as this is a sure win. This is a win that, we'll add this to the win column because it's the Raiders. And then when we come back from New England, we're at home against the Bills. Now the Bills, no slouch either. You can't walk over these guys anymore. They're young. They have a lot of spunk. They just want to go in there. They have the will to win every game.
Exactly.
Just bad things happen to them. And then after the Bills, the Lions come to town, and we all know the Lions are no slouch either. And then we have the Browns away. Okay. After the Lions,
which is another tough game.
November 24th. Put it on your calendar. It's a Sunday. 1:00 game. And then 4 days after that, we go to Baltimore.
Thanksgiving Day,
8:30 late game. So get your Alka-Seltzer, get your Pepto-Bismol. Don't eat too much. But it's not looking good, folks.
Yep.
I mean, but the thing about this, Big Tiz, is that when the Steelers do come out on top with a winning record and they win all these key games, I feel that it's going to be more rewarding, to see where you came from to where you are now, as opposed to some teams who play the walkover teams and get these great records and say, hey, we're 11-5. Okay, well, how'd you get there? Well, we beat this team where they're 0 for something. We beat that team. All these teams are below 500. But, you got 11 wins. Big deal. But when you come from where we are,
right,
and to win all these games and look at the schedule, it makes you feel better. So when we get to that point where we're 12-4, walking into the playoffs, like I said we will, it's going to be more rewarding to see that.
It'd be nice. Right now, if we can just get into the playoffs, I'm satisfied. And we'll give you a little bit of touch base on that when we go to our final thoughts. But right now, we're going to head to commercial. And like I said, when we come back, we're going to go to our final thoughts and give you all what we're thinking about here on Steeler Nation Live from Big Tiz and Big O.
It's McGinney's Sports Pub, located at 2246 East River Road. A perfect blend of Irish charm and Italian cuisine. From Calabria favorites like calamari to chicken French to the new signature dish like the Steel City Deli.
The Rothless Burger.
Everything is delicious and prepared fresh for you. They offer a full lineup of your favorite beverages with drink specials daily, and don't forget their $5 Monster Bomb.
Ice cold beer.
All day, every day. With 2 floors of seating and 20 high-def televisions, there's not a bad seat in the house to catch every minute of the NFL action.
Watch what you want.
McGinney's is the official home of the Rochester Steelers fan club.
Steelers!
So come on down to McGinney's Sports Pub, 2246 East River Road in Henrietta.
At Grease Lightning, we offer fast automotive service, specializing in oil changes and auto repairs. We offer convenient yet comprehensive maintenance and repair service, fast and no appointment necessary. At Grease Lightning, we offer the best prices on top name brands. We get you in, out, and on your way, just like Grease Lightning. Grease Lightning is locally owned and operated, So come on down to 2061 Chiley Avenue here in Rochester and talk to Charles because he's in charge. You can also call Charles at 585-563-7939 or go to our website at mygreaselightning.com. Welcome back to Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz.
And right now, this is the part of the show where we give our final thoughts. And Big Tiz usually goes first because he is the man. So, Big Tiz, let's hear your final thoughts tonight.
Thanks, Big O. One thing I want to say is that I'm proud of the valiant effort of my Steeler brothers. The Steelers went out there, got that win, a much-needed win they needed to get against the Jets, and they played as a cohesive unit. I was proud of everybody, from the push that was coming up the middle from the defensive line to the secondary, which kind of more or less contained receivers. There was one time that one receiver did get behind them, which was almost deadly, but they contained it, and the ball was overthrown. There was pressure, like I said. So things are starting to come in a certain way. The Steelers' offensive line, they're having their issues, but you have to understand these are guys that's coming from one position to another. They're trying to make things mended, to get things gelling. And one thing was to keep Ben upright. On the 55-yard touchdown pass that Ben threw to Sanders, Ben stood upright, enough time to pass, enough time to do his play fakes, beautiful play execution, and it worked. So as we see, you watch the game films, and I hope these guys are watching it and taking it in heed. They can do it. And like I said, these guys, they're picking up these penalties, but you know what? You're in this position now. Learn, get yourself motivated for this position, and move forward in it. So hopefully that'll help the likes of Beecham, who's trying to learn this new position, and that'll help the Steelers out immensely. And one thing I want to say about the ground game will come. We have to still keep attacking it, especially against this upcoming game against the Ravens. The ground game has to be effective to keep the control of the clock, and the short yardage game, which means that San Antonio Holmes, or if not Holmes, Sanders, these have to do these underneath routes that'll help pick up yards, 5 and 4 yards a pop. That means a lot, and that'll keep the chains moving. And one thing I will say about the Steelers and their coaching staff, you guys are resilient. Keep up the faith. Keep doing what you're doing to help the Steelers move ahead, and eventually it will pay off. So this is coming from Big Tiz, and I'm letting you know how I feel here on Steeler Nation Live tonight.
That's right. It's always hard to follow Big Tiz, but I like a challenge, so that's why Big Tiz always goes first. But just like Big Tiz ended, I still believe that Pittsburgh can overcome. It's not over with yet, folks. And like I said earlier, that this game against the Jets, how little you might think had any kind of basis, this was the make it or break it game for the season. I know it's just the Jets, but you know what? So were the other teams that we lost to, the Vikings, the Bears, 0-4. This is a great foundation to build from. You get your confidence. You don't want to go in there and blow out the Jets, so then you get over cocky and you understand how you got to where you got. But by looking at the game film, they'll be able to understand how they got to this victory. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't spectacular. But you know what, folks? You don't get style points for a win. A win is a win. 19-6. You could look at a whole bunch of things. How we held their offense to pretty much 2 field goals for the whole game. We stopped their running game. We stopped their passing game. But rookie quarterback, Dick LeBeau, 16-2 against rookie quarterbacks. There's a lot of stuff that we can build on. Running game, non-existent again. Offensive line, not helping. But we cannot sit there and cry about what's not working. We have to get there and see what is working and develop on that. And hopefully the stuff that's not working will come around, and so we'll have the whole package of everything working. So as crazy as you people might think I am, I still believe that we're going to finish the season 12-4. Will we do it? Probably not. But I want to be the guy at the end of the season, if or when we do that, I could say that, you know what, I said it. But realistically, the way things have been going on, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But I still believe that we're going to finish the season 12-4, and I still believe that the running game will come around. The passing game is there. It's just the running game we need to develop on. Special teams, we know we have one. We've proved ourselves before in many games. They don't win the game for us. They set up the game for us to win. So when the special teams comes around like we had, because we know we have it, we get that running game established, passing game established, and we control the clock and we control their offense with our defense. I see no reason why we can't be 12-4 and win another Super Bowl this year. With that, I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz, and before we sign off, I also want to thank Rude Dog Reyes, still doing his thing out there on the West Coast and actually giving us some very much needed fan thoughts and fan bases from what's coming out there. As you can see on the West Coast, they love the Steelers as much as we do on the East Coast. So much big ups to you, Rudy, and we thank you a lot here on Steeler Nation Live. So next time again, Big Tiz,
Big O.
we'll see you next time on Steeler Nation Live. Hopefully with a win, right?
That's right. Against them dirty birds.
Name of the future, and we're the name of the future. We're the name of the future, and we're the name of the future. Hey, yeah. Shout out to Big Tiz, man, and Big O. It's still a nation, man. Yeah. Big Tiz, Big O. You know what it is, man. It's still a nation, man. Big O. Yeah. Big O. Every night on Monday night, man. Hey. 7 to 8 on Monday night. Big O. Big Tiz. And this is Stump. And this is still a nation. Big Tiz. Big O. It's Big Tiz. Big O. It's still a nation. Big Tiz. Big O. Big Tiz. Big O. It's still a nation, man. Yeah. And this is Stump. Big O. Yeah, I had to say it was a Stump, man. Big O. Cause you know, it is a Stump, man. Yeah. Big O. Big Tiz. Yeah.